Welcome to an exploration of Friedrich Nietzsche's influential work, Beyond Good and Evil. In this video, we'll journey through the life, ideas, and impact of one of philosophy's most provocative thinkers. Nietzsche's writings have left a deep mark on modern thought, challenging conventions in ethics, religion, and society. Today, we'll uncover the story behind this book, its core arguments, and why it continues to spark debate. Let's begin by setting the stage. Who was Nietzsche, and what drove him to write such a daring critique of traditional morality? Friedrich Nietzsche was born in 1844 in Rurken, Saxony, into a family with deep theological roots. Despite this background, Nietzsche would become one of Christianity's fiercest critics. After his father's death, Nietzsche's family moved to Naumburg, where he excelled in school and eventually attended the University of Bonn. His academic journey led him to Leipzig, where he encountered influential figures like Wagner and Schopenhauer. These relationships, along with his own health struggles, shaped his philosophical outlook and set the stage for his later works. Nietzsche's time at university was transformative. He developed a close friendship with the philologist Friedrich Wilhelm Ritschl and was deeply influenced by the music of Richard Wagner. At Leipzig, Nietzsche also discovered the philosophy of Arthur Schopenhauer, whose pessimistic worldview resonated with him. These influences, combined with Nietzsche's own experiences of illness and isolation, fueled his desire to question established truths and explore the depths of human motivation. Nietzsche's life was marked by persistent health problems. After a brief stint in the military, he suffered a serious injury and recurring illnesses, which forced him to resign from his professorship at Basel. Despite these setbacks, Nietzsche remained intellectually active, traveling across Europe in search of a climate that might restore his health. These years of solitude and suffering were also his most productive, as he wrote many of his most famous works, including Beyond Good and Evil. During his years of declining health, Nietzsche produced a remarkable body of work. He wrote Thus Spake Zarathustra, The Joyful Wisdom, The Genealogy of Morals, and of course Beyond Good and Evil. These books challenged traditional values and introduced new concepts that would shape modern philosophy. Despite his physical suffering and increasing isolation, Nietzsche's intellectual energy remained undiminished, and his ideas grew ever more radical. Nietzsche's later years were overshadowed by mental illness. In 1889, he suffered a mental breakdown and was placed in a sanitarium. His sister Elizabeth became his caretaker and biographer, preserving his legacy. Nietzsche died in 1900, but his works continued to gain influence, inspiring generations of thinkers, artists, and writers. His life, marked by both brilliance and tragedy, remains a testament to the power of ideas. Beyond Good and Evil was written as both an explanation and a critique. Nietzsche sought to clarify the ideas he introduced in Thus Spake Zarathustra, and to prepare readers for his later work, The Will to Power. In this book, he challenges the conventional definitions of good and evil, arguing that morality is not absolute but relative to human needs and circumstances. Nietzsche's goal was to lay the groundwork for a new system of ethics, one that would better serve the realities of modern life. Beyond Good and Evil is organized into 9 chapters, each addressing a different aspect of philosophy and morality. The book opens with a critique of philosophers' prejudices, then moves through topics like the free spirit, religion, the history of morals, and the nature of virtue. Nietzsche uses a mix of analysis, aphorisms, and provocative arguments to challenge readers' assumptions. The structure allows him to explore complex ideas in a dynamic and engaging way. Nietzsche begins by examining the hidden biases of philosophers. He argues that even the most rational thinkers are influenced by their instincts, desires, and cultural backgrounds. Instead of seeking objective truth, philosophers often defend their own values and prejudices, disguising them as universal principles. Nietzsche calls for a new kind of philosopher, one who is willing to question everything, even the value of truth itself. Central theme in Beyond Good and Evil is the will to truth. Nietzsche asks why we value truth over untruth, and whether this preference is itself a kind of prejudice. He suggests that our desire for certainty and clarity may be more about survival than about objective reality. Sometimes false beliefs are necessary for life, and the relentless pursuit of truth can even be dangerous. This provocative idea sets the tone for the rest of the book. Nietzsche introduces the concept of the free spirit, an individual who dares to think independently and challenge established norms. The free spirit is not the same as the Superman, but represents a bridge between ordinary people and higher forms of existence. This figure is characterized by curiosity, courage, and a willingness to question everything. Nietzsche sees the free spirit as essential for human progress, even if such individuals are often misunderstood or isolated. Nietzsche devotes a significant portion of the book to analyzing religion, especially Christianity. He explores the psychological roots of faith, the role of religious ecstasy, and the ways in which religious beliefs shape human behavior. Nietzsche argues that religion often serves the needs of the weaker members of society, providing comfort and order. However, he also warns that religion can be used as a tool of control by those in power. Nietzsche challenges the traditional view that morality is universal and unchanging. Instead, he traces the origins of moral values to historical and social conditions. He argues that what we consider good or evil is shaped by power dynamics, cultural traditions, and human needs. By examining the natural history of morals, Nietzsche encourages us to question the foundations of our ethical beliefs. One of Nietzsche's most influential ideas is the distinction between master morality and slave morality. Master morality values strength, power, and independence, while slave morality emphasizes humility, compassion, and obedience. Nietzsche argues that these two moral systems reflect the interests of different social classes and have shaped Western ethics for centuries. Understanding this distinction is key to grasping Nietzsche's critique of conventional morality. Nietzsche sees the philosopher as more than just a thinker. He is a creator of values and a guide for humanity. True philosophers, according to Nietzsche, are rare individuals who have the courage to question everything and to propose new ways of living. They are not bound by tradition or popular opinion but seek to shape the future by re-evaluating all values. This vision of the philosopher as a free spirit is central to Nietzsche's project. Nietzsche is deeply critical of dogmatism, the tendency to accept beliefs without question. He argues that many philosophical systems are built on unexamined assumptions and that true wisdom requires constant skepticism. Nietzsche's playful and sometimes ironic style is meant to provoke readers into thinking for themselves, rather than simply accepting received wisdom. What is truth? Nietzsche challenges the idea that truth is absolute or objective. He suggests that what we call truth is often just a useful fiction, something that helps us survive and thrive. Sometimes false beliefs are more beneficial than true ones. Nietzsche's radical approach to truth invites us to reconsider our most basic assumptions about knowledge and reality. Key concept in Nietzsche's philosophy is the will to power, the idea that all living things strive to assert and enhance their strength. For Nietzsche, this drive is more fundamental than the instinct for self-preservation. The will to power shapes our desires, our actions, and even our beliefs. Understanding this concept is essential to grasping Nietzsche's critique of morality and his vision for human flourishing. Nietzsche introduces the idea of perspectivism, the view that all knowledge is shaped by perspective. There is no view from nowhere. Every claim to truth is influenced by the standpoint of the knower. This challenges the idea of objective, universal truths and encourages us to recognize the limits of our own understanding. Perspectivism is a powerful tool for questioning dogma and embracing intellectual humility. Nietzsche questions the traditional notion of free will. He argues that our actions are shaped by unconscious drives, instincts, and social influences, rather than by a purely autonomous self. The belief in free will, he suggests, is often a form of self-deception or a tool for assigning blame. Nietzsche's analysis invites us to reconsider our assumptions about responsibility and agency. Nietzsche challenges the idea that nature operates according to fixed laws. He argues that our belief in natural law is a projection of human values onto the world. Instead of seeing nature as orderly and predictable, Nietzsche suggests that it is driven by power and change. This perspective undermines the comforting idea of a rational, law-governed universe. Nietzsche believes that psychology is the key to understanding morality. He argues that our ethical beliefs are shaped by unconscious drives and emotions, rather than by reason alone. By examining the psychological roots of morality, Nietzsche hopes to reveal the hidden motives behind our values and to open the door to new ways of living. Nietzsche warns philosophers against the temptation of martyrdom, suffering for the sake of truth. He argues that this attitude can lead to dogmatism, self-righteousness, and a loss of intellectual flexibility. Instead, Nietzsche encourages thinkers to embrace solitude, irony, and a playful attitude toward their own ideas. True wisdom, he suggests, requires humility and a willingness to question even one's deepest conviction. Nietzsche celebrates the value of solitude for the free spirit. He argues that true independence requires a willingness to stand apart from the crowd and to endure misunderstanding and isolation. Solitude allows the philosopher to develop original ideas and to resist the pressures of conformity. For Nietzsche, the path to greatness is often a lonely one, but it is also the most rewarding. Nietzsche discusses the role of cynicism in philosophical inquiry. He suggests that cynics who openly acknowledge their base motives can offer valuable insights into human nature. By confronting uncomfortable truths, cynics help us see beyond idealized images of humanity. Nietzsche encourages philosophers to listen to these voices, even if they are unsettling, as a way of deepening their understanding. Nietzsche emphasizes the importance of interpretation in philosophy. He argues that our understanding of the world is always shaped by perspective, language, and cultural context. There is no single objective way to interpret reality. Instead, we must learn to navigate a world of competing interpretations, using creativity and critical thinking to make sense of our experiences. Nietzsche explores the relationship between language and thought. He argues that language shapes the way we perceive and understand the world, often limiting our ability to grasp deeper truths. Philosophers must be aware of the constraints imposed by language and strive to think beyond conventional categories. This insight is crucial for anyone seeking to challenge established ideas. Nietzsche warns against the tendency to oversimplify complex realities. He argues that human beings often create artificial distinctions and categories in order to make sense of the world. While this can be useful, it also risks distorting our understanding and leading us astray. True wisdom requires embracing complexity and resisting the lure of easy answers. Nietzsche traces the evolution of morality from its origins in social consequences to its later focus on intentions. He argues that our current emphasis on intention is a relatively recent development, shaped by aristocratic values and the rise of self-consciousness. Nietzsche suggests that we may now be entering a new era, one that requires a fundamental rethinking of moral values. Nietzsche is skeptical of altruism and self-sacrifice. He argues that these values are often rooted in self-deception or social conditioning, rather than genuine concern for others. Nietzsche encourages us to examine the psychological motives behind our actions and to question whether so-called selfless behavior is truly as noble as it appears. Nietzsche sees art as a vital force in human life. He argues that aesthetic experience allows us to transcend the limitations of ordinary existence and to glimpse deeper truths. Art, for Nietzsche, is not just a source of pleasure but a means of self-overcoming and transformation. This perspective challenges the traditional separation between art and morality. Nietzsche addresses the role of women in society, arguing for the importance of maintaining distinct roles and relationship between the sexes. While some of his views may seem controversial today, Nietzsche's broader point is that social structures and values are always in flux. He encourages readers to question received ideas about gender and to consider the deeper forces shaping human relationships. The final chapters, Nietzsche defines the qualities that constitute nobility in the master class. He contrasts these with the values of the slave class, arguing that traits like egotism, strength, and creativity are essential for human flourishing. Nietzsche's vision of nobility is not about birth or status, but about the capacity for self-overcoming and the creation of new values. Nietzsche calls for a transvaluation of values, a radical rethinking of what we consider good and evil. He argues that many of our current values are outdated and no longer serve the needs of modern life. By questioning these values and creating new ones, Nietzsche believes we can achieve greater freedom and fulfillment. Nietzsche introduces the Dionysian ideal, a celebration of life's chaos, passion, and creativity. He contrasts this with the Apollonian ideal of order and restraint. For Nietzsche, embracing the Dionysian is essential for overcoming the limitations of conventional morality and achieving true greatness. Nietzsche believes that humor and irony are essential tools for the philosopher. By refusing to take oneself too seriously, the thinker can maintain intellectual flexibility and avoid the traps of dogmatism. Humor allows us to see the absurdity of our own beliefs and to remain open to new possibilities. Nietzsche is acutely aware of the limits of human knowledge. He argues that our understanding is always partial and provisional, shaped by perspective and language. Rather than seeking absolute certainty, Nietzsche encourages us to embrace uncertainty and to continue questioning. This attitude is at the heart of his philosophical method. Nietzsche sees suffering as an inevitable part of life and a source of growth. He argues that hardship and struggle can lead to greater strength, creativity, and insight. Rather than avoiding suffering, Nietzsche encourages us to embrace it as a necessary condition for self-overcoming and transformation. Beyond Good and Evil has had a profound impact on philosophy, literature, and culture. Nietzsche's ideas have inspired existentialists, postmodernists, and countless others who seek to challenge conventional wisdom. His critique of morality, emphasis on individuality, and celebration of creativity continue to resonate today. Nietzsche's work is often misunderstood or misrepresented. Some critics accuse him of nihilism or amorality, while others see him as a champion of elitism. In reality, Nietzsche's philosophy is more nuanced. He does not reject all values but calls for their re-examination and renewal. Understanding this distinction is crucial for appreciating his contribution to modern thought. Nietzsche's writing is known for its wit, irony, and aphoristic style. He often uses metaphor, paradox, and humor to provoke thought and challenge readers. This style makes his work both engaging and challenging, requiring careful reading and interpretation. Nietzsche's literary flair is one reason his works remain so influential and widely read. Nietzsche's critique of traditional values is especially relevant in the modern world. As societies become more diverse and complex, the need to question inherited beliefs and create new values becomes ever more pressing. Nietzsche's philosophy offers a toolkit for navigating the uncertainties of modern life and for embracing the challenges of change. What can we learn from Beyond Good and Evil? Nietzsche encourages us to think independently, question assumptions, and embrace the complexity of life. He challenges us to create our own values and to live with courage and creativity. These lessons are as relevant today as they were in Nietzsche's time, offering guidance for anyone seeking to live authentically. In summary, Beyond Good and Evil is a bold and challenging work that invites us to rethink our most basic beliefs. Nietzsche's critique of morality, his celebration of the free spirit, and his call for a transvaluation of values remain powerful and provocative. By engaging with his ideas, we can gain new insights into ourselves and the world around us. Nietzsche's work does not offer easy answers, but it does provide a starting point for deeper inquiry. As we continue to grapple with questions of truth, morality, and meaning, Nietzsche's challenge remains to think for ourselves, to question fearlessly, and to create new possibilities for human flourishing. Thank you for joining this exploration of Beyond Good and Evil. The journey of philosophy continues.